Hi, Kelly Bowen from Lifestyle Finance, and I would like to chat to you about YOLO and how YOLO may be cock-blocking your abundance. What is YOLO? YOLO is the cool kids term for you only live once, and it's often used when you're kind of sitting on the fence and your mate will say to you, YOLO, and then you jump in and you do something kind of crazy or fun or whatever it is. However, when it's used in the right frameworks and it only happens every so often, it's a really healthy thing, and I'm so all for it because it'll get you out in the world and have you have a whole lot of fun you probably wouldn't have had otherwise. However, when your life is run by this, it isn't the most productive thing. So the problem with YOLO and how it always has you broke is it has you addicted to instant gratification. So you're always chasing the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, or the next rush, or you can never be present in the moment because you're always looking ahead and you're jumping into things before you've even had a moment to enjoy where you are and where you're at. It also will have you wildly spend money on all sorts of things that you don't need, and it literally robs you of your future because you're so focused in, what's making you feel good now and satisfying the now needs that you're not able to really plan and ground for the future, because what will happen is some new fun thing will come up, and instead of you really honoring your wealth building goals or your saving goals, you'll go YOLO, and next thing you know, that financial goal is out the window and you're off on the next adventure, and you'll be like, well, I really live for experience and I can do the money thing later. So I say this and I jest with it, and I'm being a little bit facetious because I was totally the YOLO queen, and I'm literally telling, I guess, my life story here. And if you can identify with any of it, maybe it's something to have a look at. And the other thing here that is a really what would we say? A telltale that YOLO is robbing you of your abundance is that when you have excess money come into your field, or you increase your income, it's literally like money comes in one hand and it goes out the other hand because you found that new fun cool thing that you need right now that you have to have, because it's this cycle of, oh, I've got it and now I want to go and fill my needs of all the things that I didn't have because I've been depriving myself. And now that I'm finally at a place where I can purchase those things, I'm going to go purchase all of the things because I only live once and I am worthy and deserving of it. And not that those things aren't necessarily true. However, when they're coming from the YOLO place and not grounded in the I'm making these changes or these purchases because it's actually anchoring the new identity and the new reality, this is where the let's call it the disharmony in the flow of abundance happens, and you find yourself in the perpetual cycle of money in, money out. So let me give you two of my YOLO queen examples, so that if you're finding that you're doing any of these things, then potentially it's something to look at, and I'll give you where to look to actually heal this so you can start building abundance. So one of my YOLO queen adventures were, I really wanted to go to A-Fest, and at the time where I was at in my business, I really wasn't quite at the level where I could really afford to fly to where it was being held or take the time off my business or even really the ticket. However, I was not going to let that stand in the way because you only live once, right? So why not get a credit card and let's do the whole thing on a credit card, and during that whole time that I'm away, not make any money, come back, do some huge changes in business, which totally affected my income. And then I ended up living off a credit card. And then I ended up paying that credit card off for years. And everything that I'd done to get ahead to go on that holiday, I ended up 10 times further back than where I was. Now, was the experience worth it? Yes, it was. It was amazing, incredible. Knowing what I know now, would I do it a little bit differently? I would. However, the experience was epic. But now, having healed this and really worked through some of this stuff, I would definitely do it a little bit different so that I wasn't putting myself into so much stress and pain to have this you only live once experience, because I could have done it better. Now, the second one, oh my goodness, YOLO. You know you've got YOLO going on if you're like, you know what, that's a future me problem. Future me can sort that out. I did this with my taxes when I first started making a significant more amount of money than I had ever. I was like, you know what? I've been like working really hard in business. I haven't been spending anything on myself. It's been all invested back into business. Now that I've got all this money, guess what it's time to do? It's time to spoil me, because you only live once, right? Well, 2 years I decided that I didn't want to pay my tax, and future me can worry about that. Well, future me did have to worry about that 2 years later, and I had a 40 grand tax bill and I didn't have any of it saved. So future me had to find a way to deal with that. Future me wasn't very happy with past me that said YOLO. So I laugh and I joke and I share this with you because this was the kind of thinking I was having at the time when this was playing out. And even though I had people share this with me, I knew better, because you only live once and I'm gonna, slide into the grave with grazes on my knees. I'm not going in pretty, do you know what I mean? However, again, in hindsight, if I was to look back and if I was to do things a little bit differently, I would. Because also what I learned in that process of future me can worry about my taxes, it got to a point where I started getting really afraid to make money, because I knew I was going to have a tax bill. I didn't know what the tax bill was, so I started blocking the flow in of abundance. So it's so important that we stay on top of these things and we don't push like living in the moment off for a, future me can deal with that and worry about that. So what do you do to break this habit? What changed it for me? So there's a couple of things here, and let's get personal. For me personally, my YOLO was driven by the flight response defense mechanism. So in your survival mechanisms, we all have fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And depending upon how we naturally respond, we'll have one of these that we're more dominant in. For me, my natural go-to is flight. Now, when you've got a flight response, there's a few things that you're prone to, and for me it was love to outrun my pain, love to be busy, because if I was busy, I was outrunning the pain, I didn't have to deal with it. Love the adrenaline junkie, flight type people, total adrenaline junkies, and busyaholics. So this whole YOLO and living in the moment totally fed into this defense mechanism response, and I just perpetually kept repeating it. So it wasn't until I gave up my dopamine addiction and really started dealing with some of these inner child woundings that had created this response in me where I able to really break the link with this pattern. So if you do have this going on and you're ready to start exploring it and taking responsibility and really building abundance for yourself and creating the life that you really so deeply deserve and want to live and want to step into, feel free to get in contact. I can recommend some incredible healers that have helped me along my journey. And if you have a friend that needs to hear this message that's also, likes a little bit of YOLO, feel free to share the love around, tag them, and let's have a bit of a laugh together. And also let's start creating wealth.